1 of the Scr1tno Podcast. My name is Laura and today is Sunday the 22nd of September 2019. I am coming to you from Lowestoft in the United Kingdom. It's in Suffolk, and I live here with my husband, my 2.5-year-old and my cat. This is, welcome to my knit night basically. This is where I come to talk about all my knitterly things in life rather than boring my husband to death, because I don't have many, I do have a lot more in real life knitting friends, and I certainly have a lot of online knitting friends since I've started the podcast, but I don't have a knit night round here, and I don't have people that I can regularly go and sit and knit with around here. So that's how I became the Lowly Knitter. And coming and sitting on my bed at the moment. I used to sit in my kitchen, but at the moment I'm finding a lot comfier to sit on my bed. Sitting and talking about my knitting whilst knitting for about an hour every week is so nice. So a little bit of admin first. If you are a returning viewer, then you'll have heard it all before, and thank you so much for coming back. And if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for coming to check me out. I am on Instagram as The Lonely Knitter. I'm on Ravelry as The Lonely Knitter 2. There is a Ravelry podcast group, and that's where any giveaways to do with the podcast are held, and that is The Lonely Knitter podcast group on Ravelry. And that's about it. I also have patterns for sale on Ravelry, and I also have a Patreon account. I am incredibly grateful to all of those who have signed up to my Patreon account, and I do usually give, or it is the plan because it's quite new, so it hasn't happened a lot recently, but I want to give a shout out to the people who have supported me on Patreon. Some people they would like to not have a shout out. That is absolutely fine. So if you at any point decide that you would like to sign up to become a Patreon supporter of mine, I would absolutely love it. But if you would rather not be have your name called out on the podcast as a thank you, then please do message me and I will not mention you. So thank you so much to Alice, Audrey, Karen, Emma, Hannah, Joanne, Julie, Katie, Lisa, another Lisa, Paula, Rose, Samantha, Sophie, Stacey and Verity. And those of you who would rather not have your name mentioned, you guys are helping me to fund things like postage for the giveaways that I do, more giveaway prizes for my Patreon supporters. So Patreon supporters, there is a $1, $2 and $5 level because it is an American site, and if you are just at the $1 level, that gives you entry into a quarterly extra giveaway just for patrons. If you're at the $2 level, you get the quarterly giveaway, and you also get all of my patterns on Ravelry for free. Well, not for free because obviously you're paying every month, but you don't have to pay for them. You'll get a code, as well as I am going to put the odd little life or chat video up. If you are a $5 subscriber, you get the quarterly giveaway entry, the free patterns, another 6 monthly giveaway just for $5 patrons and you would also get hopefully quite a bit of extra video content. I have a lot of things planned. I just have had a very busy few weeks and haven't managed to get tons of stuff up, but I am planning to film quite a few things. I've got a few reviews, a few chatty bits, loads of things that I would really like to put up, so that will be coming to there. There is knit along going on right now. that is over in the Facebook group Knit Along with Geordie Knits and the Lonely Knitter. So that is co-hosted with my friend Katie of the Geordie Knits podcast. We currently have a shawl along going on. It runs until the end of September, and then we will be starting the carry along, which is a Carrie Westerman knit along, for any Carrie Westerman patterns, whether they are paid or free patterns. Just knit along with us. I am actually going to join in on this one. I did actually knit a shawl during the shawl along, but it wasn't for me. It was for a sample for a show, and it went off before I could even show it on the podcast. But yeah, I have got big plans for the carry along to join in with that one. And what else? Oh, so there'll also be a thread in the, I think there is already, in my Ravelry group, and over in Katie's Ravelry group. She's the Geordie Knits podcast, and she's Geordie Knits on Instagram. And we usually also draw a prize from Instagram if you use the hashtag. Can't remember what the hashtag is. My brain is totally gone, so I'll put it down here. But yeah, there's lots of ways you can enter, and we usually do multiple prizes, so one for Ravelry each. So that's her one for, I do one for my Ravelry group, she does one for hers, one for Facebook, the group each, and then one for Instagram each, depending on whether or not there's been many entries on Instagram. So that is... Oh, there's one more thing. I have a current giveaway running. Now, there was a bit of a palaver with my editing last week's podcast and putting it up. So you will probably get like 2 podcasts in either one day or 2 podcasts in 2 days, depending on whether or not I can get last week's podcast up tonight or whether it goes up tomorrow morning. But basically, I edited my Perth videos and put those up, and then had a bit of an issue with my iPad not working, and then needing an update, and then not having enough storage, and I am finally, I think, sorted with that. So now I need to upload last week's episode. But in last week's episode, which hopefully will already be up before this one, I mentioned a giveaway running for a pattern. It is the Project Bag, Gemma from the Project Bag, her amazing pattern, the Laras Legacy socks in memory of her daughter, and I have knit them. I showed them on last week's podcast. I also said that this week I was going to block them and show you them, like, so you can see the difference now that they're blocked. Didn't get around to blocking them. I kept saying I was going to block them. I did not get around to blocking them. I have one here, so I'll just show you again. I will definitely do it for next week. In fact, I'll leave them out after this podcast so that I remember to do it next week. But they are a gorgeous textured sock pattern. There is a couple of little cables, but they're not, it's not seriously complicated. These cables should not put you off. It is so pretty. Like, if you're not into cables, like, it's just small cables. They're so gorgeous. And then this textured stitch pattern, and all of the money from this design, if you buy this pattern on Ravelry, the Laras Legacy socks by the Project Bag, you will get to know that all of the money raised from those socks, like every penny, goes to the charity Bliss, which focuses on support and research for babies and families of babies who are born too soon or too sick. So it's an amazing, amazing, amazing cause, and Gemma has someone who wanted to gift, I'm pretty sure this is what it was, they wanted to gift a pattern, give away a pattern on, they pay for it, someone else win it. So she has asked if I would like to give that copy away on my podcast, which I would. So I talked about that last week. I will make sure the Ravelry thread is open before last week's episode goes up onto Ravelry. So go over to my Ravelry group and enter if you would like to be in with a chance of winning that pattern, and also knowing that the person who has donated it has donated money to charity, and it's sort of double, you would win a pattern, brilliant, and it's a gorgeous pattern, but also that money from that pattern has gone to such a brilliant cause. and I get paid on Friday, so that is before next week's podcast, and I am incredibly grateful to Gemma for giving me the opportunity to give away that pattern to one of my viewers. And I had a little think, and I think I'm going to do another one. So I gifted a pattern on Instagram, a copy of the pattern on Instagram, and I also bought the kit at Perth and knit them from my kit. I'll match it, so one person will win the pattern that Gemma is passing on the giveaway for, and one person will win a copy from me. So there will be 2 winners for this pattern. So if you would like to help me and the person that is gifting Gemma's copy, if you'd like to help us support the charity Bliss, please go over to my Ravelry group and enter to win that pattern. It is a brilliant cause and it is a beautiful pattern, so please do if you would like to. So on to knitting chatter. Let's start with finished objects. The first thing I finished, and last week was the beginning of Gemma's project bag again, Gemma's monogamous knitting challenge. So last Saturday she started a challenge to knit monogamously, and I lasted for a while. I definitely have failed now. But I tried to bend the rules. It was not accepted. I was called out on one of Gemma's lives just now, actually, as being a cheater. Everyone else who was joining in the monogamous knitting and is hauling around giant projects because they're knitting monogamously did not like the fact that I was trying to just go, I don't want to carry a big project. They're like, come on. I might try and dip back in. Oh, I just dropped a stitch. You know when you're like, what? It's all good, folks, just talk amongst yourselves. I do not know what I just did. I think that is not a stitch. That is the stitch. Haha, I did not drop a stitch, I just picked up the wrong leg of something. Sorry, I'm going to leave that in because I'm lazy. Okay, so the first finished object, and because I was knitting monogamously, they whizzed through nice and quick, was my pair, I better put this name down, of socks that I showed the first one of last week. So I now have a pair, but I've only brought one sock blocker over here with me because, you know, I'm organised. But there is a pair. These are made from minis from Truly Hooked, so at the Southern Wool Show. And I do realise I still need to put up my little clip that I have with me and Sharon from the Southern Wool Show. I bought, she also bought, we both bought 5 20-gram mini skeins from Truly Hooked, and I used them to make my first pair of monster socks, which I still have not posted online, but I used 1 mini for the cuff and the toe, and then I used 1 mini just for the heels, and then I used the other 3 to stripe in 3 round stripes all the way down the leg and the foot, and there is a pair. So those are finished. They're not blocked because unless it's a really patterned sock and I really want to see this pattern, which, for example, the project bag socks, I would really like to see the difference that blocking makes, if there is any. They're still gorgeous now, but obviously it will change it a little bit. When they're vanilla socks, can't be bothered. Anyway, that has meant that something big has happened. This year I bought a box to do the box of socks, and I fail most challenges that I try to start, and I was seriously behind on the year, but now my box is full. It was the perfect box for 12 pairs. They fit in there completely, there's no jiggling whatsoever. I don't think I would be able to get even 1 more pair in. I mean, I might be able to really wedge them in and squidge. I don't want to squidge, I want to buy a new box. So, as I said already, I get paid on Friday. I am going to TK Maxx in my town, and I am going to find myself a second box. Probably not a big one, because I can't imagine that I'll finish 12 more pairs of socks before the end of the year. I might do because I'm on a bit of a sock mojo, but at least 2 of those pairs have to go to someone else, so I promised them some. So, we'll see. But my box of socks is full. Done my 12 pairs. I'm incredibly proud. This has never happened before. So, and because the socks that I have in my drawer are incredibly old, very felted from sweaty feet and the odd occasional chuck in the washing machine, rather than being pulled out to be hand washed. And last year I didn't seem to knit that many socks that I kept for myself, so my sock drawer has been very bare, and I just really wanted to keep these and not let myself wear them until the 1st of January, where I would get all of the socks that I knit for myself this year out and really treat myself. My little boy is due towards the mid to end of December. I'm having a planned cesarean, so I'm still not sure of what my date will be, but it's usually a little earlier than the 40 weeks. It's usually between 38 and 39 weeks. So, or at least at my local hospital it is. So, you know, January, I'm going to be recovering from my cesarean. I will have a almost 3-year-old, well, she will be 3 towards the end of January, and a newborn, if all goes well, and I'm going to be knackered, and having my feet snuggled in January in all the socks that I spent all my time making throughout this year, I can't think of anything better. So, yep, I love this box, and I got it discounted because it had it's got 2 little marks here that they can't work out why that's happened, because it's not anything to do with the inside. And it says, life is meant to be an adventure, let joy be your compass. But yeah, so this box I reckon will, I want to buy a new box every year and like stack up my boxes, but so I think I might start storing my socks in boxes like this rather than in my drawers, because my drawers are already really full and I don't have many drawers. We need some new furniture, but we're trying to move, so not for a while. Anyway, we'll see. They might all just live in there. My socks might live in boxes, because they're so cute. They lived in this Jibby Russo's Bathing Beauties bag until they were done, and then I cast those off and straight away cast on a test knit for my friend Wendy. She is Hold the Stitch on Instagram, and she had a hat and mitten, like children's pattern, that needed testing, so I have test knit the hat. Just a quick comment on this bit, she does have instructions. We were talking about a last few stitches you can put in to stop this flare, or you can leave it if you like it, and I like it when she wears it. I like the flare out that it does. I think it's really pretty, so I'm leaving it. So it's a lovely hat. It is all textured with a big cable, and then the rib. And I finished it, and Ellie instantly jammed it on her head and wore it for the entire day, even though it was really warm. I started the mittens happily, monogamously knitting, but then came up with a few pattern queries. It is a test knit, so that's not abnormal. And while I was waiting for Wendy, I put it down, so I had a lot of other things to work on, and thought, well, as I physically can't work on this right now, that's going to the side, and I can't have nothing going on in terms of knitting, because first of all I would probably go a little bit loopy, and well, I already am, but like not having something in my hands makes me anxious, and I start to crack my fingers and twist my hands, and I know it's really awful because you shouldn't notice, but there's been a few times when I haven't had knitting and I've been sat there doing this, and Ellie's come up to me and going, "You need your knitting," and I'm like, oh god, she notices. But they notice everything, children. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of an anxiety crutch for me. Just looking at this. Right, I don't know if you can see this, but here on my shirt is a brown stain. Most people who know me, who are watching the podcast, know that I have been potty training my child. Do not worry, this is cake. Anyway, so after that happened, I quickly grabbed a skein of sock yarn and balled it up. I decided to gobstopper ball it because it's self-striping, and I don't think there is anything better than gobstopper balling self-striping sock yarn. It's gorgeous. And this is a skein of Noodle Soup yarns. noodlesoupshop.co.uk is the website, and this is a one of a kind in the honeyed colourway, and it is the sturdy sock base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's a 4-ply yarn, so 400 metres to 100 grams. This company is run by my friend Charlie. She is a lovely dyer. She works, she lives in Norwich, so she is relatively close to me, which is always a massive bonus for me if I actually get to meet the people in person, and she's really lovely. So if you want to go and check out her shop, she always has gorgeous things. So I cast on this sock and I haven't got very far at all. I finished the ribbing and started on the leg, and it is giving me all of the bee and honey vibes, and I absolutely love it. I knit this much and then I did put it down. Now this is I thought this is where I started to think I was going to cheat with a monogamous knitting thing, because I thought, well, I'm hanging out with a toddler 90% of the time, and it is very hard for me to lug around a large project and control my toddler. So I'm not knitting all the time, but like if we have a little break or she's playing with her friends and I don't need to be in there, then I do like to just fill my hands, you know, and it is always a vanilla sock because then I'm concentrating very easily on her. And I knew I was about to start a test knit for a garment, and that lugging that around might be quite difficult. This is living in my Jibba Russo's Bathing Beauties bag now. So I was thinking, really, I would cheat, bend the rules on the monogamous knitting front, being that when I was in the house I would monogamously knit, but when I was out and about I could switch to my vanilla sock if it wasn't possible for me to carry around or concentrate on the pattern for the larger item, the item that was my actual monogamous knitting project. Apparently that's bending the rules too much, according to the other people partaking. I'm not going to argue with you ladies. I didn't think I'd last this long anyway. And you're all doing it properly, lugging around massive blankets, so what can I say? So that one, it's cast on and it started, but I have put it to one side because I haven't actually needed to have the sock knitting, because the other projects that I've been carrying around have been workable. So the next thing that I have been working on is also stash enhancement. I've actually worked on 2 more things. One of them I can't show you because it is a very secret design project, so that also, I am saying that genuinely doesn't count in the monogamous knitting front, because now I can class design work to a certain extent as work. It's a collaboration with someone, which is super secret for a while anyway, and I can't show you anything about it. I can't show you the yarn that came to my house, the stash enhancement I got. I can't show you the project or the plans, so super secret, I'm afraid. So that's separate from a monogamous knitting thing, and that isn't breaking the rules, we have decided. But this is sort of stash enhancement and a whip. Well, it is both. I applied to be one of the testers for Truly Hooked, Verity of Truly Hooked, her Equinox crop. So she put up a post with a cropped sweater, and it was like a boxy style, so not too tight, and I just thought, I have a dress that I would wear that type of sweater over. I could wear that type of sweater pregnant because it's boxy and not very long. So, okay, my belly would be all out underneath, but that's life. And I really wanted to knit it. I thought, I don't have much of a yarn budget at this very moment. In fact, until I get paid on Friday, I am full out broke. But when I do get paid on Friday, I have a few plans of things I want to buy, and then I've got a little bit of spare cash. So I was gonna go quite cheap, and I was probably gonna go with Stylecraft Batik yarn. a choice that for a acrylic, it's incredibly soft. I've made a lot of things with it. I've made a sweater for my soon to be here little boy with it. I've made Ellie tons of things with it. It's really soft, it's really affordable. It's $1.95 for a 50-gram ball. And I was like, yeah, I can see that in that. I can probably make that in that. I would love to make it in hand-dyed yarn, but a sweater's quantity of hand-dyed yarn probably isn't in my budget this month. Can I justify it? Probably not. But I really want to knit that crop, and I'm going to knit that crop. You know, even if I hadn't been selected to be a tester, I would have bought the pattern afterwards and done it then. But I was selected to be a tester, which was fabulous. And then I also received an email about yarn support. So Verity said that she would select randomly 5 knitters who were going to be in her test to receive full yarn support for the pattern. And I, like I said, yes, I would love to be included in that if that's an option. And I was selected. I was one of the people selected to get the yarn support. And she said that we could pick her yarn, or we could pick any other yarn, which was amazing. But I could not think of anything better than to have a sweater knit out of truly hooked yarn, and it's a DK weight sweater, and I chose the pickled cabbage colourway from her site. So here we go, here is a skein, and this is pickled cabbage, DK with nylon, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 225 metres per 100 grams, and oh my gosh, I love it so much, and it is so soft, it is unreal. For my size, I needed 5, her amazing metallic logo. For my size, I needed 5 skeins of yarn, and she sent me all 5. And I instantly balled up 2, so I still have 3 in their skeins, which I need to start balling up. But as you might be able to see, there is a good amount of variation with the colours in these skeins because they are hand-dyed yarn. And everyone always says, make sure that you alternate your skeins when you're using hand-dyed yarn. I didn't want to have a little trail of floats up the back or the side or the front or wherever. And I thought I would have a go at Helical Knitting because it is a, it hasn't got like any over the top patterning on it or anything, so I thought I can do that. So this is what I have left of the first 2 skeins, and I am now working down the body. I have finished the increases for the shoulders and split for the sleeves, and so there's me sleeves. And now I just have to work down the body. It's on quite a short cable because I didn't have a longer size. So I am, I'm helical knitting for the first time ever. I went over to Grace of Babbles Travelling Yarns on YouTube and used her tutorial to learn to knit this way, or learn to alternate skeins this way. It was an incredibly easy tutorial to follow and nice and simple to pick up, so that was really good. Definitely go and check her out if you would like to work out how to do the same. But now I am just going to try and chug away on this until it is finished. I really want this sweater, and I really want to show it off, and I posted a picture of it when I tried it on my Instagram, and I look ridiculously like a walrus because big fat belly and massive chin as always, and yeah, it was just not my best look. But I got tons of likes, and it's so nice. It was like loads of my friends commenting on there and sort of saying, you know, yay and all this, and it just made me feel really good after a bit of a cruddy couple of days. And this project is living in my Graniac? Don't want to say it wrong, Kirsty. Creations bag. It is the tartan bag. There we go, look. And I'll write up on the screen if you can see that. The tartan bag that I got from Perth Festival of Yarn, and I love it so much. I love this pink. I love it. I just love it. So yeah, this is stash enhancement plus a whip. And I have a little bit more stash enhancement to show you, and then I'm pretty much done with all of this, I think. So the other thing that I have to show you is a lovely gift from a friend that showed up this week. My friend Jo. Jo is SoCanJo on Instagram, and she's slowly being pressured by pretty much everyone in the community to start selling her project bags on Etsy, and she had set up an Etsy store, and we were all just waiting for her to fill it and launch it for us. But you know, she's also a woman who works otherwise and has a life, and we're hoping that she will get there eventually, because her bags are awesome, and I mean awesome. And she asked me not very long ago, would I like to test a new style of bag and give her feedback on it? And I said I would love to, yes please. And she sent me one, and it is the most beautiful bag. I'm using it as a handbag as well as a project bag because I love it so much, and I usually use a project bag as a handbag, but this one is just so perfect. I even took it on my works night out last night because I only went for the meal portion. I didn't go out for the dancing and drinking bit afterwards, and I thought, I just love it. I just love it. It's coming with me. So I'm going to show you. So this is SoCanJo, and this is my new bag. So it's a lovely, lovely large project bag. It has two handles here and her normal standard handle. So I have another one of these bags, another one of Jo's bags, and it has a handle here on the side, and then it's a drawstring. But these handles are totally new, and it opens really wide. It is a lovely big bag, and it is a drawstring. So you can close it like that. I will be honest, I have not really been closing it because I have been carrying it by these handles so much, and I love being able to just grab all of the things all of the time. So it's just been going around on my arm or in my hand like that, and I love it. This fabric is amazing. It is a plants fabric, and at the moment I have really got into cacti, succulents, and all of this type of plants. I have this one made me think originally a little bit like a string of hearts, though it's a little too big, from some of the leaves, but I don't think that's what it is. But I have a string of hearts in the hallway, and I have an absolute craving for more of these sort of plants, and I'm actually going to get some because I know someone who sells them, and I'm going to have a little talk about cuttings and how we can actually do this. And she also runs in her little shop, she runs classes on macrame, making the pot holders and things. So this just felt, when I got it and I showed my husband, and he was like, no way, because it was just so funny that we've been talking about these exact sort of plants really recently, and then I got a bag like this, and it's such a bright and beautiful fabric, but then mixed with the darker canvas, it's just so nice, really balances out. Then you open it, and like the other bag I have of Jo's, it is giant. It is also full of all my gubbins. I said I was using it as a handbag. It has my purse, it has my car keys, it has a notions pouch, it has a spare sock needle, it has so many things. But let me just shift all my stuff to the side. It's got hand balm, it has the leaflet from the whooping cough vaccination I had this morning. There is also, along this side, I should have emptied this out to show you, but I haven't, so there we go. Along this side it has a large pocket section. So I say large, it goes right round this whole side of the bag, and it has been divided off into 3 pockets. They are a nice depth, really nice depth. I will empty this stuff out so you can see better. You need to appreciate how gorgeous this is. I'm going to turn it inside out. So here we go. So inside out, here we have the pocket goes, oh, I had some progress keepers in the bottom of there. The pocket goes all the way across from it's just not straightened out. One side to the other, and then it is separated into 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. Jo asked me to give her feedback. I have already given her that feedback, but I was thinking when my first response when I got it was, oh, should they not be a bit higher up in the bag or maybe deeper? I have now been using it properly and have definitely come to the decision that you would not want them to be any bigger, and you wouldn't want to have them higher up on the bag, because then if you filled them with things, the bag would, and the pockets were here instead of here, the bag would definitely slouch down, whereas I have got my bag full and everything in there, and then I put it down and it stands up, which I absolutely love. So this is my newest bag. It is from Scr1tno. I can see myself using it for an absolute age because I love it, and it is my handbag at the moment. It's gorgeous. But there was another thing. Jo also put in a bag for my little girl. She put a bag in for Ellie, and I feel like Ellie at 2.5, coming up for 3, it's not that she doesn't deserve a beautiful bag, because she does deserve a beautiful bag. She deserves all the beautiful things. She's a lovely little girl. But I want her project bag. And I would get more use out of it, right, as a project bag. Well, that was what I initially told myself. Here it is. It is one of Jo's normal style, the style that I already have a bag of. So I already have one of these bags, so I really don't need to steal Ellie's. But it is dinosaurs, which is hilarious because right now she's going through a crazed dinosaur phase. She absolutely loves it. Her birthday next year, she has it joint with her cousin and then 2 of her little friends, because it works out a lot cheaper if we all do it that way. We're having a dinosaur themed party, and she loves dinosaurs. The bedding that she has right now is pink, blue, purple, green, yellow dinosaurs all over it. Anyway, so this is a dinosaur bag. They're all little dinosaurs, and volcanoes and little islands, and yeah, she absolutely loves it. And then as soon as she got this bag, she put the handle on her wrist. She can't very easily do a drawstring up and down because she keeps grabbing just one string. She can't seem to process the drawstring thing yet, but she understands that this is her handle, so she's walking around with it on her hand. She holds her hand up like this as she walks around, and she came up to me like this. She went, "Mummy, I need some wools." So I had to go upstairs and fetch her some wools to put in her project bag, and I gave her 2, and then she asked me for another one. Oh my gosh. Okay, she's been carrying this around and she's put some things in it, so I thought I would just bring it upstairs. I didn't empty the stuff out because I'm just going to put it back where it was, because otherwise tomorrow she will definitely ask me where her bag is and where all her things are. She wouldn't let me look in her bag earlier because she said it's got my special things in it and my knittings. I was like, okay, sorry. So I gave her a couple of balls of acrylic, just, you know, part used balls of acrylic to have in her bag. She doesn't want to do anything with them, she just wants to carry them around and say it's her knitting. And then she asked for another one. Oh, so she got another ball of acrylic. So these are her wools, and it was hilarious because I brought them downstairs and handed them to her, and the first thing she did was do this. Look at them. She went purple, green, and then she went and I just died of laughter because every time I get a package of yarn, I talk to her about what the colours are, and then I go, because I love to sniff yarn. Acrylic doesn't really have a smell, but usually it's hand dyed that I get, and I love to sniff it, so she always sniffs yarn whenever she gets yarn. So she has 3 balls of yarn, and then I wasn't sure what else she had in here because she kept saying that's her special things. She has a hair bow. This is definitely one of my old hair bows. This would be absolutely, I used to put it above my ponytail. This would be absolutely giant on her head. She has her Mickey Mouse Tangle Teaser brush. I was looking for this earlier. Could have really used that. It's full of hair because I'm a bad mum and need to pull that out. I also feel like a Tangle Teaser hairbrush is not the best thing to put in your bag with your wools. And the last thing I actually feel like I shouldn't show you now. She's definitely taken this out of my backpack. I'm going to show you just because it's funny, and no one who I know in real life who, like, I work with or anything like will see this, so it's okay. She has my bottle of VIP poo. Chris and her, this was in my birthday presents this year, because I can't go to the toilet at work very easily because I just have a very shy toilet habit when it comes to places that aren't my house, and during this pregnancy that has been something that has had to go out the window. And I spoke to one of my colleagues about it, about how I need to go to the toilet but I really don't want to, and she laughed and gave me this to use and was like, there you go, now you don't have to worry about if you make any smells. Well, I used it and oh my gosh, it smelled gorgeous. And second of all, she was right, if you use this, no one knows you've had a poo. I realise this is the most unladylike thing to talk about on a podcast ever, but it's true. And I told Chris and was like, I can't believe this stuff. Anyway, so this woman at work, she's left hers in the toilet at work, so there's always VIP poo in there, so no one has to smell my poo at work if I have to poo, which doesn't happen that often, but if I did, it's there. And then he bought me my own bottle, and I haven't been able to find it for a little while. It turns out it's been in Ellie's special things. So I am actually going to take that back. That's mine. But the other things can go back in her bag. But yeah, I'm sure you can all see why I want this bag for myself rather than letting my 2.5-year-old have it. Because it is awesome. It's one of those really lovely big bags, and it's got this lovely metallic-y, sparkly gold fabric at the bottom and for the drawstring casing, and then it's the plain white inside again. And it has this amazing hot pink handle. So those are the things that came into my house this week, other than the one thing that I have that I can't show you because it is a secret. But I can't wait to share it when we're ready. So yeah, I am hoping this week, plans-wise, to, I'd love to have this finished for next week. I can see that possibly happening because it is now, I'm just storming down the body, and then I've got the arms, and it's a crop sweater, so it's not like the body's going to go on forever. Obviously I am not the smallest person in the world. I think I'm knitting the 51-inch bust, so if I was thinner it would definitely be finished quicker, but I'm still holding out hopes that even for this size I will get it done for next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, and then my secret project, I need to finish off a couple of, it's a design thing, so I need to finish off a few changes that I'm making to that, and then carry on with it because it's going to take a while to get through it all. And then that's about it. We've been talking tonight, I was watching a bit of Gemma from Project Bags, one of her lives, and that she was, people were discussing having a knit along for the Exploration Station by Stephen West. I have wanted to knit the Exploration Station for a while now. I'm not taking part in his knit along, his mystery knit along this year. I did think about it because I took part in last year's and I really enjoyed it, but that shawl is still waiting for its the optional border I decided I did want to do, but I haven't yet done it, so it's still sitting there, and I don't think I want to join in with another mystery one until, I might do next year, but I really want that Exploration Station. I've been saying it for ages, so I am going to do that. I'd also quite like the building blocks one as well. Anyway, so all that leaves me with is, oh, I will put stitch markers. I have already selected my stitch markers. I've got this one here, which is a Project Bag stitch marker. That one is going on my socks. I will put that on my vanilla socks in case I do pick those back up, so that we know where I have knit from. And this one, my unicorn from the Corner of Craft, it is my only Corner of Craft stitch marker, and I love it to bits. I really want some more of hers when I have yarn budget that I don't want to spend on yarn. That one will be going on my Equinox crop. I'll pop that on there. But yeah, so all that leaves is what's been going on with me this week and community news, I suppose. Last week I mentioned my tenure that was on the needles, but that I wasn't sure I wanted to continue knitting. It's quite close to being finished, but that Caitlin Hunter, Boyden Knitworks, the designer behind the pattern, had been a little disappointing in some of her reactions to being called out on her actions. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Now, I've read some interesting posts throughout the week, and you know what? It is just a sweater. If you have bought a Caitlin Hunter pattern and you want to knit it, because you've already spent that money. You know, if that's how you feel, no one gets to say anything. If I wanted that finished object, I have paid money for that pattern that I won't get back. I have paid money for that yarn, and I have already spent a good amount of time knitting that garment. It is close to being finished. It's just a knitwear garment. I could knit it, and if anyone ever said to me, hey, who's that sweater by, that's lovely, I could turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't share who this sweater is by, because it's by someone who I really don't agree with their stance on things, or I really don't like this thing they did. Or I could say, it's by this person, but I wouldn't support them financially again because of this. You know, I could do those things. Or I could choose to not wear it around other knitters, or, you know, there's loads of options for what you can do, because at the end of the day, it is just a hand knit sweater, and it has the worth and value that you attribute to it. But personally, for me, I would not feel good in a garment when the designer of that garment had disappointed me, or, you know, I just felt like we don't agree or see eye to eye here. If what you're wondering is, I am talking about all of the mess that started when Sophia Tron on Instagram, and please don't go over there and speak to her about this. If you want to have a discussion or have any kind of kickback from this, you can message me on Instagram, you can comment under this video. Please do not ever be going to someone else, especially not a person of colour, and berating them or asking them for more details or asking them for education because you heard something from me. I am not sending people to this account for that. No. You can go to this account to follow her because she's a really interesting person to follow, and she's, you know, got loads of amazing things to say. So feel free for that, but don't be going and berating someone on my behalf, or because of something I've said. But she was blocked by Caitlin Hunter, even though she financially supported Caitlin Hunter, bought loads of her patterns, knit loads of her designs, and had never had any interaction with her ever. And when Caitlin Hunter was called out on it, she apologised. She didn't really apologise, not properly, but she said that it was a mistake. So, not an accident. Let's not stop that here. It's quite hard to block someone on Instagram. You have to go through multiple little click-through things and select to block them. It's not easy to accidentally block them, and she didn't say that she accidentally blocked her. She said it was a mistake. So basically she decided to block this person because she didn't want to interact with her, and then rather than explain herself, she just went, it was a mistake. You know, it's quite hard when you find out you've been blocked by someone. I've been blocked by a designer who I have never had a crossword with whatsoever. I believe it is because I, along with others, made a statement about a show being predominantly white and not making any effort, and yeah, a person blocked me. I believe they are friends with someone who runs this show, and before that I supported this designer, and I thought quite a lot of them, and to not have any conversation and then just find out you're blocked, that's hurtful. But for her to have that happen to her, and she spent a lot of money. Like, I'm not getting into this, but basically, it's just treating people of colour in our community like they are not worth a proper conversation, not worth a proper explanation, and also like blocking her in the first place for no reason. Whatever. It then all carried on. There was an apology, there was all this, you know, we're going to change, we're going to be better. But then she disappeared, and then she came back saying that, like, she didn't have the time to moderate comments, and that she didn't have the time for this discussion, basically, and that she needed to step back. And then, you know, this is where white people need to step up and say, okay, what I did was not good enough. Here's what I'm going to do to change. I am learning, and, you know, I am being accountable, and I am being transparent, because this is where we've been letting a major part of our community down. Like, it's just the ultimate in white fragility to turn around and say, I caused all this shitstorm, but here I am, I'm going to go and hide over here now because, oh, getting a low battery warning. Here I am, I'm going to hide over here now because it was embarrassing and a bit much, and I got a bit of backlash, without thinking for even a second about A, the hurt and pain caused to usually the person of colour or other person that they have hurt, but also the backlash that it can cause and all of the storm that can rain down. I mean, Caitlin Hunter has 100k followers on Instagram, and a lot of people who are happy to stand up and say, I'll be your warrior, I'll fight for you, and then go and dump crap on the person of colour who is totally innocent in this and who has been hurt already, just because in the name of supporting the person that they want to, you know, say, she's alright, she's fine, leave her alone. No, stop, everyone just stop. Let people stand up and say they are accountable for their actions, and if they don't do it, say, come on, hey, I want to support you, don't be a dick. And I don't know. Basically, the whole mess meant that this week I ripped the needles out of my tailor, because in my head I would not be able to feel comfortable in that sweater. I'd just feel a bit meh in it. I don't want to do it. I'm going to ball up that yarn, I'll knit something else with it, or potentially give it away maybe. I'm just 100% done with my tailor. You know, it wasn't getting finished, it was in my whips of doom wardrobe anyway, and now I'm like, well, there you go, that one is never getting done, because nah. I keep knitting past the point that I need to knit to. No, it's okay, it's there. With my helical knitting, because I'm getting too involved in talking. So yeah, that got ripped out this week, and I also thought, I don't think I ever mentioned what I was doing with my sock petition yarn. So just today actually, I've noticed that a lot of yarn shops seem to be taking up, saw quite a bit of it in Katie Geordie Knit's Instagram stories. A lot of yarn shops seem to be happily booking classes again for Nathan of sock petition. I am not saying that I want someone's livelihood to be ruined. I'm not saying that I want someone to never work in any industry again. All I am saying is that if someone is silencing and weaponising of mental health or health in general, and blames everyone else for their actions or for the fallout after their actions, and then goes to attack a woman of colour, attack anyone really, but attack a woman of colour who dares to say something to him at a show, if he can do all that and never apologise, and then companies, shops are happy to book him for classes again, well, what did you think? That it is all blown over? This isn't going to blow over until people are held accountable for their actions. You can't go through life shitting on people and hurting people and causing significant damage, and then saying, well, I caused damage to, it caused damage to me too, so let's give it a little bit of time. I'll step back from Instagram for a little while, and then I'll come back and everything will go on as normal. there's been a lot of talk about whether or not this is a community or a marketplace, and for me it's a community. It's also a marketplace. I buy from a lot of people that I have met through this community. I spend a lot of money with people that I've met through this community, but at the end of the day, I want it to be a community. I don't want someone in my community who thinks it's okay to do the things that this man has done and not say anything, and not fix the situation and make amends and apologise and come back and fix it. But I have sock petition yarn, and I spent a considerable amount of money on this sock petition yarn. I am annoyed with myself for that now. I'm annoyed with Nathan for making me feel... Whoops, sorry about that. My phone cut me off mid-rant because I had filled it with stuff. So now it's plugged into charge and it is less full of stuff, so hopefully it won't crash on me again. But I was just talking about sock petition yarn. I have at least 6, maybe 7 balls of his yarn. They're 50-gram balls and they were £7 each, about that. So that for me is a considerable amount of money, and it is a garment's worth, for a top, short sleeve top or whatever. And it's not the sort of money I can be wasting, but I will never feel good knitting with that yarn, even if he came back and made amends and fixed everything that had happened, and made it right with the people that he had upset. I just wouldn't feel good using that product, because it will have for me memories of the incidents that have happened this year. If he came back and made everything right and really made amends and really significantly apologised, then and the people who had ultimately been affected here, seriously affected, the people of colour especially who have been affected, the woman he attacked, if amends had been made, then in the future I might feel differently and I might want to purchase his yarn again. You never know. But right now and in the future, I will never want to work with that sock petition yarn that I have in my stash, because it's tainted for me, it's ruined. I realise this is the absolute epitome in me, centering myself in this discussion, but obviously I don't really have any other kind of frame of reference, and I am talking about what I'm going to do with the thing in my stash that is related to this person. So what I have decided to do is take the ball bands off, throw them away, and maybe write the yardage and the weight of the yarn on a bit of paper, and then bag it all up, either give it to the charity knitters in my town, so that they can do some good with it and they won't know where it came from, and why I feel that it's tainted. My other option, which I'm actually leaning to a little bit more, is to spread it around some of the children's centres and nurseries in my town. Just drop off some with some acrylic that I had as well. They use it for arts and crafts. They chop it up and make it for hair on pictures and fun things like that. And again, I'm just going to take those ball bands off, throw them away, and it's a lot more yarn than it's nearly 50 quid's worth of yarn, and it's not something, no, it's more than that, can't remember, but I'm done with having it in my stash. It's a little bit of space that can come out, so that's what I'm going to do with my yarn. But again, it's just yarn. You could knit with that. If you didn't feel the way I felt, you can knit with that and then refuse to tell people who it was. Say either I've forgotten or it's from someone who I choose not to support. So it's what value you place on your items and how you feel about the community, and I'm not judging either way on what you decide to do with your items in your stash. Anyway, I'm going to go because we must be nearly an hour now, and nobody wants to hear me talk for that long. It's been a long week. I had a little bit of an incident today where I was laying on the sofa, sort of asleep, and Ellie climbed up on the sofa and threw her entire 16-kilogram body, bum first, straight onto my stomach. It was incredibly uncomfortable, a bit painful, and then I had a good 30 minutes where my little boy did not move, so that was a bit nerve-wracking because he is a big mover. Why are you coming in here and interrupting me when you said you wouldn't come back in here? You forgot. I think you really want to be on this podcast. I think you should come and wave.
Moon.
I don't want you to moon. Nobody wants that. Anyway, so yeah, I had a nerve-wracking 30 minutes where there was no movement from my baby. I did speak to the maternity ward at my hospital, had a little chat with them, just let them know what's happening, and they said it was totally normal, that he would probably hunker down because he'd had a bit of a boff, and to just give it a little while, see how it went, and see if I got my movements back. I had to ring them back shortly after to update them on the situation. They wanted like updates, and obviously they wanted to check there was nothing coming out, which there wasn't. We were totally fine, and yeah, he was up and moving again quite soon. But that was, I'm not gonna lie, that was quite scary. Other than that, I worked Monday and Tuesday, and then we've done a lot of house play things. I've had people over, and she had another brilliant swimming lesson. I've just felt exhausted this week. Brain exhausted, not felt like being massively on social media, so I've definitely fallen off the wagon with the photo prompt challenges that I was wanting to do this month. I've just felt a bit, I think, knackered. I don't know, just been a bit shattered and just wanted to sit and knit, and I processed the Perth videos and then didn't process my podcast from last week, and it's all been a bit up in the air. Anyway, I've definitely got hiccups. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I was going to say for this week. I've probably forgotten like a million things, and I'll want to I'll think about them as soon as we've cut off, but there we go. Hopefully this one actually gets uploaded tomorrow, and I will speak to you all soon. Thank you as always for making me feel like so much less of a lonely knitter. Bye!